Alrighty, everybody, this is Jay, and welcome into Retro Time. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about what my top 5 favorite franchises are in video gaming history. This can change again at some point, but right now, I just wanted to do a top 5 because I did it on my other channel, and the video is completely gone. So I thought I'd talk about it again and give my opinion as to why these franchises are some of my favorite franchises. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is going to start off at number 5 for me. So, the number 5th spot is going to be Super Smash Bros. Let me explain why. So, Super Smash Bros. Has every single character in video gaming history and just takes it and balls it up into just one big giant game of people fighting each other. That's why I really like this game. It just takes all of my favorites are actually in this, but the roster's huge, and when they go to make the next one, the roster's still gonna be huge. So I like how big this game is, and I enjoy being able to fight with all the different characters in Super Smash Bros. So that is why this is number 5 for me. So Halo is number 4 for me. Now, the reason I like Halo is because I like the main story of Halo. I haven't really gotten into playing the side games, but the main story of Halo, its main storyline, is really good, all the way up to a certain point. Now, after 5 is when I really stopped enjoying Halo for what it was, and when they put it in Infinite, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same thing, because I'm used to running through a whole game where you just continue on, and they tried that in this game, Halo Infinite, but they didn't do it as great as they did. So I do really still like Halo. It's just Halo's one of those games now that's finally it's dropped down the level of games that I like. Unfortunately, Halo went from literally being number 3 in my record to number 3 in my book to number 4 now because of reasons as of recent. The newest game, in my opinion, wasn't so great. I'm probably going to go back and play it again. But I put number 4 for Halo because specifically there's a spot in my life that has a very nice memory of Halo. And it was the day when I was in it was the days when I was in high school. After that, the days of Halo, I kept playing them. And they brought me and some of my friends close together. But beyond that, Halo isn't as great as it once was to me, and that's why Halo is still important to me in my list. So Halo will always be either number 4. It'll stay on the list regardless, but it's always going to be Halo in some sort of spot on the top 5 list. So let's get into number. So for me, number 3 is Mega Man. I really love the Mega Man Zero franchise. First franchise it beat in the Mega Man collection that opened me up to this idea that Mega Man has such a big, vast story. Now, I haven't played a lot of Mega Man. I'm playing through X right now. An amazing game if you haven't played it. Right now, Mega Man X. Go and play that if you haven't played it yet. But I'm really enjoying these Mega Man games. They're showing me that Mega Man has, like, lore behind it that no other game has, and that's why these games here they set in number 3 for me because they have a bunch of lore that are just genuinely it sets well because it's a rememberable lore. It's totally different from most games, and that's why it sets at number 3 for me now. Because once I started playing Mega Man Zero and saw the story behind Mega Man Zero, it was really a likable story. Once I hit number 2 in Mega Man Zero 2, I really started to enjoy Mega Man as a whole. I was like, oh, this whole series is actually great. And I'm going to go back, and I've worked through some of the first game. First game's a little challenging, but it's not impossible to get through. And that's why I like them. They're just really good for what they are. And they're a reminder of where gaming used to be for me. And that's also probably why they set well on this list. Now, if you have not had a chance, go play Mega Man Zero, the whole Mega Man Zero collection, and play the whole thing actually. But yeah, Mega Man Zero is by far my favorite franchise in the whole Mega Man universe. So If you have a chance, please check it out. But we're getting on to number 2 now. All right. So number 2 is definitely going to be Xenoblade Chronicles, no matter what. Number 1 and number 2 are always going to be the same, regardless. On my top 10, 5,000 video game list, they're never going to change, unless there's something that I haven't played. But these have a really special place to me for a lot of reasons. Xenoblade Chronicles are a game I actually started playing when I was in a really bad spot in my life. Not a horrible spot, but they were a place where I'm still dealing with stuff, but they taught me a lot about, a lot in general about life. It's weird how that works. But Xenoblade Chronicles and Legend of Zelda are two games that really, they just are enough to blow your mind and give you, there's a lot of stuff you can learn in life from these games. Now, my first one out of my actual top favorite game out of Xenoblade Chronicles games is the first one, because the first one is just super wild and the ending is just something else. But if I'm to pick a top ending of Xenoblade Chronicles, it'd be number 2, because of what they did in it. Now, I'm not giving away anything about these games, but Xenoblade Chronicles has blown my mind to no other level with video games, that I can't even say there's anything out there that sticks above Legend of Zelda and Xenoblade Chronicles, for me, at least. So, let's get into number 1, because I already mentioned it here. Alright, my number 1 top favorite game will always be the Legend of Zelda franchise. And I started playing Legend of Zelda really into the N64 era. And it was the Ocarina of Time, the very first Legend of Zelda game I played. And the feelings I got from this game were just something absolutely above any other game I've ever played. When I first started playing this, I was confused. There was no straightforwardness to this. It was all about solving puzzles and just pushing me to think outside of the box. And the Deku Tree was the first place I actually got stuck, and I remember it. And what I remember is the room that was filled with water that had the eye above the door. And I was sitting in this room for hours trying to figure this out, and I just couldn't figure it out, and nobody in my house would know what was going on. And at the time, I didn't have internet, I didn't have a guide to look through it, so I went through and tried to, and got myself out of the tree eventually. And still to this day, that sits as a memory of just how great this game is. And I know that's a really weird way of saying it, but a game is meant to push you in every way, shape, or form, and make you wonder what you're supposed to do. Instead of making everything genuinely easy right in front of you, the games are actually meant to challenge your line of thinking, your critical thinking. Anything possible that you could do, you tried until you found the answer. So that's why this sets well with me. On top of it, the first experience of Ocarina of Time was the wow factor for me. And let me explain the wow factor for me. The wow factor was that first time you ever step out onto Hyrule Field after you have to leave the Deku Forest you're in. I guess that's Kakariko. No, it was the little village you were stuck in. I'll have to go back and remember. I totally get I'm bad with names, but I can remember story very well. So, you go and you leave the place you're in, and you just go out into Hyrule Field, and that upbeat music, along with a big, vast, open surrounding with nothing around you, but you have to go a good distance off. You have to go in a good distance to find the castle or whatever. It was just an experience. It was such a wow experience to me that I could never get that from a game again. And the only other game that challenged that wow factor for me was, in fact, number 2. Number 2, Xenoblade Chronicles. that was another wow factor for me. It was like playing Legend of Zelda all over again, but the open world was a lot bigger. Everything was so much bigger, and that's why I really, really enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles. But this one here is always going to top that because this is my first real experience in a game where I go out beyond something and find out that there's this big open field and you just have a lot to explore. You have a lot of freedom. I consider Legend of Zelda to be literally the first open world game of its time, and people could disagree with me about that. But looking back on it, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was always and will always be an original open world game for the Legend of Zelda franchise, no matter how much you argue that. And that's it for me. That's my top 5. Let's get back to the big screen. Alright, so there you have it. There's my top 5 favorite video games, franchises in video game history. Now, what I will say is I don't have all the Legend of Zelda games behind me. I'm working on trying to get those eventually. There's a lot of stuff I'm working into this collection here. But, you know, going back in time and just seeing how I felt, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was the other game that held me over as a kid. Because, you know, I spent hours in my room and nobody would come bother me. So I'd be playing the game and then I'd pass the time away and it'd be like light to daylight without me even noticing it. I'd be like, wow, I can't believe I spent this much time on a game. So that is how great those games are. And plus, you know, I still remember I bought the game and then I had to turn around and ask my dad for an expansion pack just to play the game because the Nintendo 64 didn't run it. So there was a lot to that game that just in my memory really, really synced in and really, really set well for me. And that's a memory that I'll never forget. And that's why I really, really enjoy Legend of Zelda games. They're always going to be that spot for the Nintendo 64 for me. That was my game. And that's the game that I will always end up remembering the most because there was a lot riding on that game as a memory that I will never forget growing up till this day. And if anybody ever gets the chance, please play those games. They might not leave a memory for you, but for me, they are the best games in the world, and I always have love for them. So, and I could go on and on with Legend of Zelda lore and things that took place in my life, but I'm not going to. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And you know, if you did like it, please hit the subscribe button. Well, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you did subscribe to get more content from me like this. I'll be seeing you next time, and tomorrow morning, another stream. So take it easy, guys, and I'll be seeing you. And keep gaming, gamers.